Another fresh from the shower, damp hair Caleb video. I spoil you. It's really damp. I was recently asked by this handsome fellow right there, check out his channel, it's very good. I was asked if I thought PlayStation 5 games would appear on PlayStation Now, the service from PlayStation that allows subscribers to download and stream over 650 games from across 3 PlayStation console generations. Of course they will. This guy's an idiot, right? Then I thought more and realized there's lots of whys nots, which open up to a larger and perhaps more interesting question. Will PlayStation Now ever offer same day and date exclusives like Xbox's Game Pass does? Let's talk about it. And this guy's not an idiot, he's a gem. Before I go any further, if you like gaming content like editorials, skits, a few reviews, insulting this guy, and more, consider subscribing to this channel. I'm weak, and I need your validation, stranger. So, the first question, will PlayStation Now feature PlayStation 5 games? Yes, PlayStation Now, and I'll even throw in PlayStation Plus, PlayStation's online service, will have PlayStation 5 games. Eventually. Definitely not at launch. Now let's use history as an example. The PlayStation 4 was launched in November 2013. PlayStation Now was launched just over a year later in January 2015, and it wasn't until almost 3 years after that that the PlayStation 4 games were added to the PlayStation Now service. When the amount of money made from game sales, via system sales of course, begins to diminish, that's when games from that system will fold into the subscription service. Let's look at some numbers to highlight this point. In the 50 months between the PlayStation 4 system launch and the appearance of PlayStation 4 games on the PlayStation Now service, Sony had sold 73.6 million consoles. That's about 1.47 million units per month. Now in the following 29 months between January 2018 and May 2020, Sony had sold about 1.2 million consoles per month. While not a dramatic difference, and I understand that averaging in this way can be misleading, it does point to the inevitable slowdown of the second half of a console generation's life. Software is where the money is. For Sony, the consoles sell the software. If console sales are slowing, that means software sales are slowing, which means it's time to sell software in a different way. Therefore, PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus get current generation games, and the marketing team has a sweet, sweet marketing beat that they can leverage. Marketing beats. So my estimate is that we will see PlayStation 5 games hit PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus in the middle of 2022. And that's assuming this coming PlayStation 5 generation will be about 5 years, which I understand is shorter than previous generations, but that's a hunch and a topic for a different video. A video that I will probably never make because smarter people have already done that. That one right over there, for instance, but don't click on it now. Wait till this video's done. If we look at the closest direct Sony competitor, Microsoft, they have been much more aggressive with incorporating next generation games into their subscription service, Game Pass. And by all accounts, it seems to be doing really, really well for them. So I asked myself, will Sony ever take a similar approach? Will PlayStation ever offer PlayStation exclusive games on PlayStation Now at the game's launch? My immediate response to this hypothetical question that I posed to myself was, of course not. Consumers have consistently shown that they are willing to spend $60 per exclusive title, so why would Sony risk that revenue for potentially less revenue from a subscription model? But I wasn't satisfied with a hot take assumption, so I scoured the internet. I crunched some numbers, I took several naps, and it turns out Sony, a company that lives by its exclusive games and their $60 price tags, might actually be better off if they offered exclusive titles on PlayStation Now at launch, exactly like Microsoft does with Game Pass. Let's dive in. There's lots of numbers coming up, and I say that not to warn you, but to excite you, because you are smart, and numbers are not intimidating for you, and you are also beautiful. You're a double threat. You can't dance, otherwise triple threat. But that's okay, you don't need to dance. Nobody needs to dance. Or I think it's singing, not dancing. That's the other threat. Anyway, it doesn't matter. First, we've got to figure out 1, how many exclusives we're talking about here. 2, how many copies each exclusive sold. 3, the PlayStation Now cost to the consumer. And 4, the count of PlayStation Now subscribers. We'll sprinkle in some assumptions about margins, throw out a few variables that I can't account for because I'm dumb, and in turn we'll of course add a bunch of asterisks, and voila! We have a tasty business case. First, let's figure out how much money Sony has made from its exclusive titles. Now, for my purposes, I'm going to restrict to the top-selling exclusives, not all of them, because that's the data I could find online, and also just the exclusives released after PlayStation 4 games were added to PlayStation Now in December 2017. Yes, it's true, people who buy a PlayStation 4 today could go back and buy those pre-December 2017 exclusives, but I've got to make a cutoff somewhere. Between December 2017 and May 2020, PlayStation had 6 exclusives that meet the top-selling criteria, with a total of 36.3 million copies sold, according to various sources, all documented in Wikipedia. So we take this number and we multiply by $60 per game, and then again by 55% to account for the platform royalties and Sony's first-party publishing fees, and we get a staggering $1.197 billion of net revenue from 6 games during a 2-year period. That's our baseline, and it's not bad. That's the number we have to beat. So that means we now need to compare this amount of revenue to the amount of revenue Sony could have made if they instead pushed a PlayStation Now that offers these same exclusives on launch. Now, there's going to be a lot of hypotheticals and assumptions and straight up guessery coming up, so all you data scientists that accidentally found my channel when searching for actual data, get ready to cry. So first we need to figure out how many users currently subscribe to PlayStation Now. We know that as of May 2020, Sony has sold 111 million PlayStation 4 consoles. We also know that as of the same month and year, PlayStation Now had 2,200,000 active subscribers. That's just about a 2% subscriber rate, but for the longest time, the subscriber rate was closer to 1%. So I'm going to use 1% as my figure. Now, of course, there are plenty of weirdos like me who have purchased multiple PlayStation 4s over the years, but we're going to stick with 1%. So let's imagine that 1% of users subscribed to PlayStation Now since its introduction in December 2017. We apply 1% to each month's cumulative console sales, then multiply each of those figures by the respective month's PlayStation Now rate, which was $19.99 until October 2019, when the rate changed to $9.99 per month. This calculates to $471.3 million worth of revenue between December 2017 and May 2020. This obviously is far below the non-subscription revenue mentioned earlier, so on the surface, it seems Sony is smart to push individual game sales over PlayStation Now subscriptions. But it's not case closed. And not just because a lot of this logic is flawed. I know a lot of it is flawed. One, I'm assuming people are ignoring multi-month discounts and special promo rates for PlayStation Now. I'm suggesting that subscriber rates remain constant month to month, which I'm sure they don't. I'm not considering revenue from non-exclusive titles. And related to that, I'm kind of assuming a false binary here, right? I'm suggesting Sony can only sell exclusives individually, or they can only offer exclusives through PlayStation Now. But I know that makes no sense. After all, if exclusives were offered at launch as part of PlayStation Now, logically the 1% subscriber rate would increase, right? But by how much? Well, to figure this out, I took the sales totals of those 6 aforementioned exclusives and divided the 111 million install base to estimate an exclusives adoption rate, or EAR, because I love acronyms. I mean initialisms, that's an initialism, not an acronym. You almost got me, grammar nerds. Or is it the other way around? Damn it! Surprisingly, the numbers ranged considerably, from just 4% for The Last of Us Part 2, which is understandable given how new it is, to 12% for Marvel's Spider-Man. I honestly thought both of those numbers would be way higher, even though Last of Us Part 2 is pretty new, so maybe my logic is flawed, but that's what we'll go with. When I average all of the ears together, I get 5%. So maybe we should assume a 5% subscriber rate. I plug this in, and instead of a measly $471.3 million in subscriber net revenue, we get $2,356 million. Now we're cooking with money covered in gas. But we could go even further. Now let's pretend Sony could do just as good a job marketing their subscription program as Microsoft has with Game Pass. As of May 2020, Game Pass, which promotes same-day exclusives as one of its primary value propositions, is subscribed to by between 20 and 21% of Xbox One owners. If we then increased the imagined 5% subscriber rate to the 20% rate of Xbox, we're then looking at $9.4 billion in net revenue. Now we're cooking with pure gold covered in gas. So, will PlayStation Now ever offer PlayStation exclusives day one? No, probably not. See, Sony's weird. Please like and subscribe and click the bell icon to make sure you don't miss future videos. If you are still watching this video, you obviously like it, right? So it only makes sense to subscribe for more stuff you'll like. Oh, and if I failed on any of the math or logic, please feel free to correct me in the comments. Just be nice about it.